I thought the truth about Jessie Smollett was a joke. I didn't know that Netflix was actually finna release a documentary about Jessie Smollett, y'all. Like,
Jessie Smollett and the Netflix documentary gets everybody talking. Let's talk about it. Hey beautiful people, how you all doing today? It's your girl Destiny here and welcome to my channel. How have you all been? Hope you guys are doing great. So today's video is a video about the Netflix documentary about Jessie Smollett. If you don't know what about the Jessie Smollett case that happened 2019, let me break it down for you and then we'll get to it. So first off, Jessie Smollett from the Empire show was big in 2019. Everybody was raving about him. And then the incident of how he was attacked and racial slur and LGBT slur was said to him and a rope was put around his neck, went viral, and the story just went viral. Everybody was talking about it because later on, after it was being reported that that happened to him, that he was attacked and racial slur, and the attack was being navigated towards being it a hate crime, both from the LGBT side and a racial side, the black side. And this just kind of got people really fired because those are really two communities that had it tough, and that's what he is. So in the process of the police in Chicago because this happened in Chicago, investigating the case, they said that there was a foul play. It seems like Jessie Smollett set this whole thing up. They got the two Nigeria brothers admitting that they were paid by Jessie Smollett to do this. There was a footage of them buying a ski mask from a shop and all that. And the mat was matting at that time. And there was this back and front between the Chicago police and Jessie Smollett, up back and front. 1 minute they discharge the case, the next minute is 750 days in jail, like whole in prison, like a whole lot was happening with this case. So if you don't know that case, maybe you should Google it, but I presume a lot of us here kind of know the case. So now Netflix has decided to release a documentary of what happened, because we all know that that just tanked Jessie Smollett's career. Nobody wanted to do anything with him. They wrote him out of the show Empire and all that. So Netflix decided to do a documentary, and in this documentary we see Jessie Smollett talking. We see the two Nigeria brothers say their own side of the story, the Chicago police saying their own side of the story, and independent journalists saying their own side of the story, and then two witnesses that said they saw a white man around that area at the time Jessie Smollett said there was a white man. So everything is just a little bit like, I feel like me watching it initially, I thought this was going to give me more closure and probably decide, because before that, most of us have already ruled out that Jessie Smollett was guilty because of what was reported in the news. But that's not to say, I feel like this documentary is going to change your mind. And if you don't want spoiler alert, please pause the video, go watch the documentary, and then come. It's a short documentary about an hour plus. So go watch it and come, because there's going to be a lot of spoilers. So this documentary has gotten people talking. A lot of people have so much to say about this documentary. So let's go check out people's reaction to this documentary, what they think, if they believe Jessie Smollett now, or if they still believe the Chicago police. So let's go check out people's reaction to this documentary, and then I'll come back and share more of my thoughts. So before we get into the video, you guys always ask, Destiny, what is that thing you're eating? What is that thing you're drinking? Is this smoothie and avocado? One of my favorite I've been having for a while now. You guys already know I'm always having this in most of my videos. So yeah, that's what I'm having. It's a juice, a strawberry juice and avocado mixed with some ash. I think that's what they call it here in Lebanon. But yeah, let's get into the video.
So I just finished watching the Netflix documentary about the whole Jessie Smollett situation, to where he was allegedly beat up because he was black and gay. If I wasn't confused before, I'm absolutely confused now. I don't know who's lying, him or the goddamn police. First of all, if you haven't seen it, I do implore you to go watch it. With that being said, I feel like the purpose of a documentary of something like this, of a case, is to give you every angle of the case, right? From the police's angle, from Jessie's angle, from the defense, from the prosecution, all that. They did a great job at laying out the facts of this case. At one point in the documentary, I believed that he was lying. At the next part of the documentary, I believed that the police was lying. Like, if you look at this from the perspective of evidence, he's guilty. He absolutely set this up. But if you look at this from a different perspective, what would be the motive? There was no DNA found. There is no evidence that shows that he planned this. All they have was two eyewitnesses that state that they also saw two white men. Speaking of that, towards the end of the documentary, I was fully 100% sure that the Chicago Police Department lied about this whole thing. I was literally ready to close out this documentary with the fact that the Chicago Police Department framed him. But once we got to the point of this documentary where they showed their surveillance footage in color, and they showed that boy sitting in that laundromat, the eyewitness who said that he saw two white men, when they showed him that video and he said, "I see two black men," I was no longer on Jessie's side. Because what do you mean? You told the police that you saw two white men, and the video they showed you is of the same men, and now you're saying they're black. Which, let's just be 100% honest, that was absolutely a black man. I don't know where they saw a white man in that surveillance video, but that was a black man. So that just threw me for a loop, so I was back in the loop of confusion. At this point, I don't know who did it, bitch. Cookie's responsible at this point. I don't know what the purpose of this was for. Was it to clear his name, or was it to make him look more like a liar? I don't even know why he would sign up to do this, but yeah, nothing was solved for me.
Had you clocked when you called yourself the gay Tupac? Juicy, listen. Not today. I did not need my edges to be aggravated today, and I really want Juicy to move forward. I remember when this whole situation took place, and I thought it was an episode of Empire. I thought it was fake! Like something about you leaving your house in the middle of the night to brave the Chicago cold. The most boss level YN that you will ever meet. The cold will pack you up before a criminal does. To go and find yourself something to eat when Uber Eats was right there. But then to learn in this documentary that not only after this thing happened to you, did you walk back home with the Subway sandwich, but you got home, you took the rope off your neck, but when the police came, you put it back on your neck. If you wanted to be an activist, you just needed to be active. Because in both the African American community and the LGBTQIA plus community, there was already so much on our plates. We were already fighting so many fights, so all you had to do is get in there. I also think that those brothers were cornballs, but the fact that they even agreed to do something like this should have told you the level of men that they were. So the fact that they're out here cooning and buffooning and writing books that they don't even know the name of, all for 20 seconds of fame and a little coin, I'm not surprised. And I also don't question that the Chicago Police Department is corrupt. I believe that both of those things are existing in the same universe. But either way, this documentary is on Netflix.
I thought the truth about Jessie Smollett was a joke. I didn't know that Netflix was actually finna release a documentary about Jessie Smollett, y'all. Like, this is crazy. If y'all don't remember, I was in high school when this happened, y'all. I was like about a sophomore, junior in high school when Jessie Smollett had said that he had been attacked by MAGA supporters in Chicago. All that stuff, and then, like, it came out, it was like, he's lying, that never even happened, blase, blase, blase. So look, they didn't release a documentary on Netflix about it. Did I think that this whole situation was worth a documentary? I did not. But you know what? I'm going to watch it. I'm going to watch it because I want to know. I mean, a lot of people back then, I remember people were saying that, oh, this is a stunt that he put together allegedly so he could stay on Empire because they was about to write his character off. Just saying all types of stuff. And I just really hope that in this documentary, since it's a real thing, that the truth comes out, because I don't think we ever really discovered what really happened with that situation, y'all. But I don't know. I thought it was a joke, but I guess Netflix got money for everything.
Hey, so I was scrolling through Netflix and I saw this new documentary called The Truth About Jessie Smollett, and I had to check it out. And I gotta say, it's one of the most interesting documentaries that I've seen in a while. This documentary just jostles you throughout because it starts you off and you're like, oh yeah, this makes total sense, he's totally guilty. But then by the end of it, you really start to question it. So we are going to enter spoiler territory, so if you're interested at all about seeing this documentary, go ahead and stop. At the beginning of the documentary, I firmly believe that he was guilty, right? But then when they bring in the independent journalist and she references the surveillance footage, that's when it really gave me pause. There's 10 seconds of missing footage from their surveillance footage. Why? And then some of the footage had pixels that were conveniently covering the suspects. Why? No DNA from the two suspects, right? Like, it's so strange, even though, yeah, they admitted to guilt. But then it's actually really well explained as to why they could have chosen to admit guilt, even though they may not be guilty. And then that had me thinking about the West Memphis 3, which, if you're not familiar with that, look it up because it's crazy. But getting someone to admit guilt when they're not guilty is possible, even though it sounds ridiculous, but it's very possible and probably happens pretty frequently. Now, the easiest result is that, yeah, he's guilty, right? But if you start to look at some of the things that just don't make any sense, It's weird, and it makes me question, and then I start to feel insane. Because then I start to ask, well, why? Why go through this amount of effort to cover something up? But have you seen it? What are your thoughts on it? Because I have so many thoughts.
I just watched the Jessie Smollett documentary, and I think I have more questions than answers. Because I remember when this first came out, right? I used to love Empire. Empire at its peak was like prestige television to me, that and Star, but that's not the point. Anyway, 2019, when this news came out, I was like, oh my gosh, they attacked Jessie. Who would do that? Why would they do that? And then the plot thickened. They said investigators were suspicious. Maybe the whole thing was a hoax. And I'm like, okay, we're gonna give him the benefit of the doubt, right? And now watching this documentary, like I said, more questions than answers. I feel like both sides are confusing a little bit. As far as the investigators' argument goes, they did look at all of this surveillance footage of who they later identified as the brothers. Like, we see all these security cameras, and then they follow their Uber to the north side of Chicago, and then they see that these guys are linked to Jessie, like they're friends of his. They've been extras on the Empire cast. They even see that the day before they went to the store to buy ski masks and whatever else that they wore the night of the attack. So on that end, I do see why investigators reached the conclusion that they did. But at the same time, in Jessie's defense, you pointing out that he walked outside at 2 a.m. to get a Subway sandwich is not necessarily like enough to criminalize someone. And then there's 2 witnesses who said they saw white men carry out this attack in this area. And then there's also the police lacking any forensics, any DNA evidence that anyone did the attack at all. I say all of this to say I don't really have a strong opinion on whether he lied or not, or whether the brothers were involved or not. But I do hope this documentary coming out helps close this chapter, because that was just a lot to take in.
So the truth about Jessie Smollett, I'm sorry, Dave Chappelle has got us spoiled, or he's gotten me turned rotten, because I cannot pronounce that young man's name correctly. It's on Netflix, but Jessie Smollett, I think that's the right way to say it, but correct me if I'm wrong still. Anyway, it was a documentary, and it was interesting. I was wondering if it changed your mind at all from what you initially believed or had settled on. I settled on that he was guilty, and I had that opinion from the very beginning. I can't say the documentary changed my mind. But in the beginning, when I felt really bad for him, and I was a fan of the show Empire. I didn't watch the whole season because it started getting stupid. But I was a fan of the show, loved him and Cookie. And of course, what's happening with his young co-star, Brashear Gray or something like that, praying for that little brother. But anyway, when he first came and he reported this crime, I was like, that's really bad for him. And then when I saw him wearing the noose around his neck as the police arrived, I was watching the body cam footage, and I was like, something ain't right here. Because spiritually, I believe that it's almost impossible for a black man to voluntarily wear a noose, especially after a white man has tried to put it on him. It would have been sitting on the table when the police arrived. You wouldn't be wearing it around your neck like a prop, even if you're an actor. Because black men, even when they're acting for and having a around their neck, that's coming off as soon as they say cut. And they'll put it back on when the cameras are rolling. But spiritually, in our DNA, you can't convict somebody on this or claim that they're guilty because of this. But spiritually, he was guilty in my mind after that. Much in the same way if you think about women who have been great, right? The first thing they want to do is take a shower and cleanse that violation, that spiritual violation, physical violation off of them. It's almost universal. right? It's a very strong reaction in your body, and I believe that that it's impossible for black men to voluntarily wear noose around their necks. You can let me know. A lot of people, I think, would agree with me. So they go on to introduce other evidence, like, I hadn't heard that there were other witnesses, a security guard who saw a white man in the area running, and a lady who lived in the same building as Jesse that was, saw a white man outside the building with a rope. Um, all of the video footage was grainy. So it seemed to, like, at the end of the day, boil down to what people thought they saw in terms of skin tone and silhouettes. Um, I could say that some of that video footage doesn't look like the Nigerian brothers, but
Yeah.
I don't know that that's compelling. There was enough evidence in my mind of seeing them buy MAGA hats and ropes. The check that they never followed up on, which the story changed. It was supposed to be for training, then it was supposed to be for some kind of stimulant for belly fat loss. That's not legal in the United States. You got to go to Nigeria to get it. So you mean to tell me $3,500? Maybe that was the flight to go to Nigeria, but somebody should have followed up to see if they actually purchased it, actually see that it's available, what the cost is, and did Jussie ever receive it? Since the story changed. The last thing was just, okay, so one of the brothers had a felony and he shouldn't have had guns and stuff in the house. And that would be incentive for him to make a deal with the police. And let me tell you, in that video footage where the 10 seconds are missing, that's some typical Chicago shit. I'm from Chicago. I have direct experience with the Chicago Police Department. And let me tell you, you can't trust at all. So that's plausible that somebody would be incentivized to want to make a deal with the police department. But a deal to lie or a deal to stay out of prison for what you actually did wrong. Are the Nigerians scammers? We know Chicago police are liars. There's never any follow-up about the letter. The letter that was threatening him. And somebody would really have to, there's lots of black gay men, even lots of gay men on TV. So you mean you got to follow somebody around and would know that they're on Empire doing their thing, which is a gay-friendly television show? What threat would Jussie be to anyone that you would have to threaten him and then follow him around? I just didn't buy all that. And so at the end of the day, to keep it short, it didn't change my mind. I still think he's guilty. And if he's innocent, I'm going, hey, I don't know if we'll ever really figure that part out, because he seems to be committed to his story and rebuilding his life accordingly. And so I can just say that I wish him the best. But it'll always be a side eye in my mind until something else happens. Let me know what you think.
Please go down in the comment section and share your thoughts. Love to know what you think about these conversations down in the comment section. But as always, please keep it respectful. You're on this channel. We're allowed to disagree, but do it in a very respectful way. So let me know, do you believe that Jessie Smollett is guilty, or do you think the Chicago police did some funny games there? Go down and share your thoughts. Love to know what you think. So here's my own thought on this documentary. If you haven't seen this documentary, please go check out this documentary so you can join in the conversation. It's just about an hour or so. It's not a long documentary, very short. But I can understand the reason why Justice Smollett is trying to clean out his name, because it affected everything. It affected his bag and all that and all that. I would say personally, watching the documentary kind of make me like even more confused than I was before. Initially, when this news came out, all empathy and sympathy goes on to Justice Smollett. All the great, like, I was like, why would somebody want to do such a nasty thing to someone and all that? But when the whole evidence and him going to court, the entire case was very confusing, because 1 minute they let him go, he released a statement, they pull him back again, he's doing jail time, but he's not doing jail time. The brothers are doing TV shows and all that. So it was a little bit confusing and all that. But here's my own thought watching the series. Do I think Justice Smollett is guilty? At this point, I'm like this. I don't think so. Why? There are some unanswered questions which I'm going to answer, which I'm going to ask. If you guys have the answer, please. There are some unanswered questions that I would love to ask, and then I'll let you guys know what I think. So first up, the first up is the 10-second space clip that went missing with the Chicago. Then thinking about that, a couple of months before that incident, there was the Chicago that the young black man 16 times, and then they tried to delete the video clip. So that just kind of gave me the squint, like what happened to that 10 seconds that was not in the clip. Secondly, confirming that the Nigeria brothers, one of them was a felony, so he was not allowed to be around any form of guns and all that. That actually like kind of okay. Okay. Then another question I want to ask is why like what do we think could be the reason for Justin to do this? Because if we look at all the evidence and everything, at the point where this incident happened, his career was at his peak. So apart from he wants more publicity on his career, which he already has and which he was getting at the peak at that time, what other motive could this be? Then, or like some people would say, because he wants to be the Black Tupac. Okay, so that just kind of make me. But the Chicago police is known for a lot of corruption, so that's also another thing to think of. They're known for a lot of corruption, and the fact that his words just sticks, and then the way the brothers are going about it, making jokes about it, like it's something to laugh about. And if you look at the video tape, you see that when they were at the police custody, they waited a lot of time before they even said, hey, start talking to the police. They waited for their lawyer and all that. Could that be that they were just trying, because one of the brothers is a felony, so they're trying to make sure they get themselves in straight before they open their mouth? Like there's a whole lot of questions that's been said. And then the laundry guy that said he saw a white man, then they're showing him a clip of it and saying it's a black man. And then some people are saying they see white man, some people are saying they see black man on the footage that was being shown to them. That's even confused me even more. So yeah, so there's a whole lot of questions that I personally I would want an answer to. But I personally, watching the documentary, I don't think Justice Smollett is guilty, and I've stated some of the reasons. Some of the reason is the fact that one, the Chicago police is known for their corruption. Two, and they even did one. They tried to cover a lot of things, and even the officer that was in charge of the case was later dismissed. I think 2022 or between 2021 for misconduct and all that. So that's another thing to look. So somebody that has been discharged from or been isn't this I don't know if he was discharged or asked to retire because he had some type of misconduct and corruption going on. What makes you feel like he would take this case serious? And like the private journalists talk about it, this could be that the Chicago police was trying to clean up their name, especially with what just happened to the black man 16 times and try to cover it up. So that could also be, that's also a valid reason to say that is the reason why Chicago police did what they did. But also, the way the brothers are going about it is just no. Then the 10 seconds missing clip, all that just made me to conclude that it's most likely that Justin Smollett is innocent, honestly, because it makes sense why the brothers would take the fall. If they tell you you either go to jail or you admit to doing this crime, and then you can admit and then still blow up, and then so I don't know. I'm kind of like this, but before now, I could certain that Justin Smollett was guilty, but now I'm more like the police probably did something. That's my own personal opinion. Anyway, guys, you guys let me know what you guys think about this story, this drama down in the comment section. Go ahead and share your thoughts. I love to know what you guys think about this because it's really interesting, but there's a lot of loopholes in the story. Like, it's not adding up. The math is not matching on both sides. Okay, so go ahead and share your thoughts. Share this video with somebody that you want to be part of the conversation, because that's what we do here. We have banging conversations. So go ahead and share this video. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because this helps YouTube to push up my content for more people to see, and that'll be supporting this channel and this girl here. So go on and do that. Subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you guys in my next video. Deuces.